So this is the spoiler video for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And there is a lot to cover in this. But, I am going to cover the more big reveals, I should say. And, like I said, where it ends, the introduction of certain elements, as well as the mid-credits scene. And then I will go into what I think can show up, what will be coming up for the Knuckles spin-off series, and Sonic the third film. So let's begin off. So, as I said in the first film, the only spoiler I mentioned in the original video was Knuckles getting betrayed by Eggman, which, come on, anyone can see that happening. But these next spoilers are going to be are going to say a lot. So here we go. So the first thing is, after Sonic and Tails escape Eggman and Knuckles in the snow chase, Tom Wachowski sent Omen support to get Sonic and Tails out from Siberia, but all of a sudden the three of them and his wife and his sister-in-law get arrested by Gun. Yep, Gun is brought in, and apparently they've been around since they were introduced after the first film, especially after Tom and Maddie refused to reveal Sonic's whereabouts at the end of movie 1 to the government agents, and they want to detain Sonic and basically keep him from causing any havoc. Though they do, of course, they do also reveal that Eggman is back, and while they do initially keep a lookout, they do decide to do a lookout. They're not fully convinced. It isn't until Eggman and Knuckles find the shrine to the Master Emerald that they are fully convinced that Eggman's back and he is the bigger threat. So yeah, that's how that happens. And I think it was going to happen. I think it was kind of obvious that Gun was going to show up, because you can see their logo on the uniforms in the trailers. So it isn't too big, but it's more so what they reveal at the end, which again you can sort of see coming with this, but we'll keep going on. So after Knuckles joins forces with Sonic and Tails, Eggman returns to Green Hills and has pretty much gained the power of the Master Emerald, which is actually something that hasn't happened in the games. Eggman has captured the Emerald, but it's more like, he's never had the Emerald use the Emerald's power to a certain extent. Like this time, the Emerald he actually absorbs the Emerald to give him almighty power, and he uses it to create a great massive robot, which is the Death Egg. The Death Egg robot. Yep. Which is really cool. I love the fact they were willing to bring that. I mean, it was going to happen at some point. I was really impressed with. It's not totally the same look. I mean, it's not red and yellow, I should say. The robot it's black, but you do see the face, and you know that is that specific robot. As stated, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles work together to defeat the two, Sonic Heroes reference, to defeat Eggman, and get the Master Emerald out. But after Knuckles gets the Emerald out, the Sonic retrieves it with the help of Tom and Maddie. But as he tries to use it, the Emerald shatters. So this is where things get a bit interesting, as apparently it's established in the film that the Chaos Emeralds created the Master Emerald in this, and with the shattering, the 7 Chaos Emeralds show up, and right as Eggman's trying to crush Sonic transforms into Super Sonic. There is no Dragon Ball reference with this, so but here's the thing: Sonic has officially turned Super Sonic, which is great. He wipes out Eggman's Death Egg robot and saves the day. And we see some interesting powers with this. Specifically, right before he returns to normal, Sonic creates a tornado, which he summons to create infinite chili dog, to bring in chili dogs. Now we don't know. Now it's not sure if this is what this could mean, but it is important to see where this sort of new power with Supersonic is integrated in the future. So it's so far we don't know what he can do too much other than his usual flying around and now being able to summon specific things. But it's going to be interesting how Knuckles can. I think Knuckles is going to have to probably solve a bit more of these new powers in his spin-off series. So with that, so after that, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles decide to become the new Guardians of the Master Emerald after Knuckles puts the Chaos fixes it back to normal. Now, I was a bit interested to see what would happen with this and how it would end, but to my surprise, Tails and Knuckles decide to stay on Earth and live with Sonic, Tom, and Maddie, which is honestly really cool. I mean, I kind of could have expected Tails too, as it's sort of part of his personality, but I was quite surprised that Knuckles actually stays on Earth. And you know, it plays off a scene where Sonic tells Knuckles after Eggman betrays him that he was able to move on after the events after Longclaw and the fight between Longclaw and Knuckles' tribe by finding a new family. And Knuckles stays on Earth and begins to form a new family, which is really cool. And I've made complaints about the numerous feels to the Sonic X anime, but excluding the third season where he begrudgingly goes along to protect because Sonic and his friends steal the Master Emerald to go into space, Knuckles doesn't. In the first two seasons, Knuckles doesn't stay with the main group as he's mostly working on his own to get back to their universe. I mean, he does, and you know, and even when the Master Emerald ends up coming to the world of Chris Thorndike in the Sonic X anime, he still mostly operates on his own. So it was kind of unique to see him actually agree to stay with Sonic and Tails and live with them. So, and you know what? The Wachowskis actually kind of like him, especially Maddie. So you know what? It's actually nice. I really enjoy that. But it will be intriguing to see what the spin-off series does with this, because it's not established if Tails and Sonic will be in the show and when this will take place. But now, and they keep the Master Emerald in a cooler to keep it from being stolen. That is problematic. And I get the feeling they'll have to think of somewhere better to hide it, especially with what happens in the mid-credits. So first off, we see Gunn looking around the wreckage of the Death Egg robot, and they conclude that Robotnik is dead. We don't see a body, and look, I don't think he's dead. And we clearly see Agent Stone in a gun uniform, smiling at himself when they think that when Robotnik's no longer a threat. But here's where things get interesting. While going through Eggman's record, going through all of Eggman's old records, they find a particular file dating 50 years back with coordinates to a secret underground base. And all of a sudden, a capsule opens up in this secret base, but we don't know where it is, revealing Shadow. Yep, Shadow the Hedgehog. He is in it. You see him. You see his full body, and just after they say Project Shadow, he opens his eyes, and that's it. You know, you see a bit of electricity building, some sort of power illuminating from his eyes, but that's about it. So yeah, here he is, Shadow. And you know what? It was good. It was probably going to happen. I mean, even before the spin-off series was announced, if they were going to do a third film and they were going to tease another character like they did in the first film with Tails in the mid-credits, there was really only three choices you had, which were Amy, Metal Sonic, and Shadow. Chaos was a bit debatable, but it probably it's basically probably not going to happen now that especially after Knuckles puts the emerald back together, and the Chaos Emeralds is what forms it. So it's probably unlikely now that Chaos will show up, especially now, as well as the fact that Knuckles' tribe was eradicated in the battle against Longclaw's tribe. So yeah, it was probably going to happen that Shadow would be the more likely candidate. Although it was going to be interesting because with the way certain events follow in this film. Okay, so Eggman still has Sonic's Quill, so you would think, especially with Eggman not there, them not finding Eggman, he would be in a secret base to build Metal Sonic. And it was also established that Tails had been keeping an eye on Sonic after the events of the first film, which is how he tracked him down in this. And if Sonic's actions in the first film alerted Tails, you would think that maybe he could alert Amy. But especially with Sonic believing there are no other hedgehogs. But, you know, I think it was more, now I think about it, it was probably likely that Shadow would have been the one. And you know what? He looks great. You know, for the brief moments we see him, we don't hear him speak. So it's going to be interesting who they cast as Shadow. My bet at the moment, if there are two people who I would think could play him, especially when we consider his backstory and all that, I'm thinking more Robert Pattinson or Sebastian Stan. They're the two I think could really be good fits for Shadow. But although it would be cool if they bring back Kirk Thornton or even Jason Griffin, because Jason Griffin for his tenure as Sonic was very mixed, to say the least. He got better over time. He did pretty well with Shadow all the way through. So yeah, it would be interesting. And who knows, if they bring back Kevin Humphries or anyone else, you know, I'd be really excited. So yeah, Shadow will be involved. But here's the thing: I don't think he will show up in the Knuckles show. It doesn't feel like. I don't think he will show up. They may drop another hint towards him, but if anything, and maybe have a brief cameo here and there. But I don't think he will show up in that. I think he will be in the third film. So it's more like they're going to build. I don't think they would show him completely. Who knows? Maybe in the series we might briefly hear him speak. I don't know. But I think Shadow is a definite for the third film, not the show. With that said, what do I think the storyline could be with the show? Now, again, I don't know whether this is going to be set before the events of Sonic 2 or whether it will take place afterwards. But here's the thing. The other thing we need to keep in mind is when Sonic tries to get back to in the beginning of the film, Eggman uses Sonic's Quill to try and find a way to get back home, back to Earth. But before Knuckles comes out of the ring portal, a couple of guards show up. And I don't know who these guards are. But you would think if these guards might work for Knuckles, who are they? There's a fair chance that in the spin-off series, we may get Team Chaotix. Potentially, and again, we don't know the size of it, so judging by the size of these guards, it could be Vector, Espio, and potentially Mighty. Yeah, so Vector the Crocodile, Espio the Chameleon, and Mighty the Armadillo, which would be cool if Mighty got picked in, because you know he's one of those more obscure Sonic characters. I mean, it was originally Sonic's original concept. Before he was a hedgehog, he was meant to be an armadillo, but that ended up not happening. Mighty, the armadillo character, later became Mighty in a arcade game, and was later then brought back for the Sega 32X game Knuckles Chaotix, which introduced Vector, Espio, and Charmy the Bee. So it wasn't until Sonic Mania Plus that Mighty returned in a playable capacity. So it was a pretty long time. So here comes the introduction of Mighty. So I think Team Chaotix could potentially happen, But then the other character they could introduce in the show is Rouge the Bat, which I think is a real possibility, especially if it happens a lot more on Earth. Rouge will try and steal the emerald from Knuckles, and eventually will probably work her way towards Gun, which is where she would possibly meet up with Shadow. So this is a bit interesting with what they could do with this. Now with the Quill, with Metal Sonic, I think he is still a possibility. He could show up in the show because Metal Sonic was a threat, was one of the major villains in Knuckles Chaotix along with Eggman. So it is possible. There is a possibility that we could see Metal. As for Amy, well, I think it's another thing that Amy could show up in the show. I think that is a possibility. But I think she's more likely to show up again in the third film. I mean, we didn't know that Knuckles would show up till much later. We didn't know Knuckles would be in Sonic 2 till much later. I think, and here's the thing, as far as Sonic knows, he is the only hedgehog, hedgehog that like him. He doesn't know any other hedgehogs like him. So this could be interesting that he meets a Shadow who's pretty much almost very similar to him, and then he meets Amy. But it's going to be interesting what they would do with Amy Rose. I mean, I don't think they'll change her personality. I mean, we saw how Tails acts with how he thinks about Sonic being a true hero and his actions and all that. And I reckon Amy would act the same thing, just with a bit more the fact that she's completely loves Sonic and hopes one day he'll marry her, because that's Amy being a fangirl. But it'll be interesting what they do. But yeah, I think at the moment the characters they would introduce coming up. Okay, so with Shadow coming, we know Shadow is a thing, but I do think that Metal Sonic, Amy Rose, Vector, Espio, Charmy, and Rouge the Bat will be the ones that. Okay, let me go over that again. So we got Team Chaotix, which is Espio the Chameleon, Vector the Crocodile, Charmy the Bee, and potentially Mighty the Armadillo. Amy Rose, Metal Sonic, and Rouge the Bat are probably the other characters they would introduce at this very moment. As for the others, as I said, I don't think Chaos would show up now. I don't think there's any real need to bring him in. I don't think at the moment. Alright, potentially Omega, the E123, the E100 robots could show up, which means Omega and Gamma, but I don't see that at this stage. Although they could prove me wrong with the show or the movie. I don't see Cream the Rabbit or Big the Cat showing up. Same thing with Blaze the Cat. I just don't think that's a possibility at the moment. Silver the Hedgehog, maybe, but I think he's more a thing for if there's going to be a fourth film. But I don't know. I mean, potentially maybe even the Knuckles show could bring him in, because it's established now in the comic series as well as especially Sonic Forces and Knuckles, and that Silver has a bit to do with, especially with Espio and Knuckles in particular. So there is possibility with that. But yeah, that's basically what I will talk about here. Those are the major spoilers. So yeah, we know Sonic can transform to Super Sonic, and we know that Shadow's on his way. But of course, we don't know how these things will progress in the upcoming show and in the upcoming Knuckles series, as well as the third film. I should also mention that maybe in the show, Knuckles may try and transform into a super version of himself, which has happened in the games, but only in the 2D ones. And like in the 3D ones, only Sonic, Shadow, and Silver can transform into super forms, while Knuckles can only do it in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles and Sonic Mania. So who knows? We could see that. But in the meantime, that's what I can say about the spoilers. Hopefully you do not see it. You have seen my original review, so you're not getting spoiled at it. And again, if you haven't seen that video, again, only watch this after you've seen the movie. At least at this stage, unless you're watching this after it's come out and it's no longer in theaters. Yeah. But that's about it. So in the meantime, so that's it. Hazard from Hazard Reviews is out, and I'll see you for my next video. Not sure when that'll be, but it will definitely be another review. And I'm pretty sure it will not be video game related. But I can't give any promises. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you for my next video. Ciao.